This week in post, adding a twilight look to our photo, and the secret is curves. Hi everyone, I'm Scott Davenport. Welcome to In Post. Thanks for joining me today. If this is the first time you're checking out my channel, I hope that you like what you see. Thanks for giving me a shot. And if you do, please consider subscribing. Today's photo is one I took at the tail end of my visit to Swami's Beach in Encinitas, California. I showed you some footage of that earlier this week on In the Field. And at the very end of the day, I captured this couple here. They're out there walking their dog, and they stepped out onto one of the rocks there just to take in the sunset. And they were just very nicely silhouetted. And I think this type of scene's gonna look very nice if I give the photo a bit of a twilight treatment, a little richer, blue/purple type tinting to it, and that looks really good at the very edge of sunset or just before sunrise. It's a really nice mood for the photo, and I think it'll suit this scene well. I'm going to do this one today in just on one photo. I've had several folks ask me about doing a photo teardown with only having used on one photo because that's their tool of choice. So that's what we're going to do today. But I think the concepts you'll see here will translate to whatever tool you happen to be using. And I did some other videos about why I use the tools that I use toward the end of April. You can check for those on my channel as well. Let's take a look here. So very first is tone and color. I did absolutely nothing, and I didn't change a thing. I fiddled slightly with shadows and highlights and so forth. But overall, this photo is exposed well, and there is a little blowout in the sun area. I expect that. The sun is a hot object in the sky, both photographically and in reality. So I'm not worrying about that blowout. If I ever needed to print this, I could rein it in later. And I did fiddle with white balance and settled on going, you know what? I just like it the way it is. So no changes in tone and color. What I did go into is local adjustments next. Let me turn on this bottom adjustment. And what we'll see, if I open this up, you can see that this area gets darker, right? Before and after. And just did that with a simple mask, and you can see the exposures taken down. A full stop. Well, I will press the O key just to see the mask here. And I brushed away some of the strength of the reduction in exposure on the sand area so that we still have some hints of what's there. It's not just completely black. But I really wanted to accentuate those silhouettes and make that just the outline. The story here is very clear with this couple and their dog. From here, I went back into the overall settings in the develop module and added the curves. I'm just going to turn it on so you can see the difference. This is really the magic. So turn on the curves. And the photo is very different, a much different mood, a lot calmer. The end of the day, it's been a nice day. It's quiet now. Things are slowing down. Let's show the details in here. And we adjust each one of these channels, red, green, and blue. These are very small, tiny changes. You can see I've got a point roughly in the, what's called the lower midtones, raising the reds up just slightly. That starts to give that purplish hue. Greens, the opposite. Went up into the highlights and pulled the green down a little bit. And so that's going to take the edge off of some of the yellows, make those a little less yellow. And then finally the blues, brought those up. This one was a little bit of a stronger adjustment to bring all of the blues up in the highlights. Just give them a little more of a blue tone, and that helped out with these patches and areas in the sky here. So this is before, and this is after. And it's a beautiful twilight look. I wanted to finish this photo off in local adjustments. The next adjustment I made, let's show this one here. You'll see a temperature change. I'll turn that on. We can see that the photo takes a little bit more of a cooler tone. I'm lowering temperature just a little bit, but an intricate mask. I'm using a luminosity mask. If I press the O key, we can see there it is. I pressed the luminosity mask, and I did some adjustments on the levels and the window just so that I was not adding any tint whatsoever to the sun. I didn't want to do that, right? That's not the area that I want to target. So you can see that's been removed from the luminosity mask. A second local, or actually a third local adjustment, turn that on, and a slight additional reduction in temperature for the upper part of the sky. So if I turn that off, I turn that on, you can see what's happening here. This was a combination of that same luminosity mask, because I didn't want to have the clouds affected too much. And then I also added a gradient. So if I press the O key, you can see here's a pretty intricate mask of the sky. And this is just from this lumen button. And then I grabbed a gradient and just dropped it here. So I wasn't adding any more coolness, this temperature adjustment. Nothing else in the foreground, just up in the sky, and I also had a slight reduction in the exposure. Final touch was going back to the overall settings and adding a vignette. Very subtle one. This was started with strong and really just played with the sliders. And one thing I will show you is just when I take the feather down, you can see here, you can see that edge right here. That's where my vignette is centered. So centered on this part of the frame. That's where my story is. And just fade that out all nice. So that is the full set. So here's the before. And here's the after. And the tip of the week is that curves adjustment. Just those slight tugs to the red, green, and blue channel can really add a nice Twilight look to your photos. And that's going to do it for this week's In Post. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, please let me know somehow. Comment on the video below. Likes, +1s, wherever you're seeing this, there's going to be some button that will let you tell me you got some value out of this. If you've got questions, I would love to hear from you. You can contact me through my website. You can leave a question below, however you'd like to get a hold of me. And I usually turn an answer around in a day or so. And until next time, my name is Scott Davenport. Happy shooting.